Now that we are ready with the tools and materials required, let's construct the basic stool. Step 1. Select the side free from blemishes and knots. Use a handsaw and cut the wood to the required size. Use a jack plane to plane the face side and face edge flat. Use a tri-square to check if the edges are cut square. Mark them as the face side and face edge. Smoothen it further by using a smoothing plane. All other measurements must be taken from either face side or face edge. Step 2. For making the stool, you will need to cut out the legs, top and bottom rails, and the top for the stool. First, mark out the pieces for the leg, according to the dimensions mentioned in the work drawing. Leaving a gap from the top and bottom edge, measure and mark the points for the mortise grooves on the leg piece. Take a pencil and tri-square and mark the points of the width. Set a mortise gauge to the required width from the edge and scribe a line along the face side to the required length on the top and bottom edge. This will determine the mortise groove for the top and bottom rails on the leg. Step 3. Similarly, mark the layout for the tenons onto the top and bottom rails according to the required dimensions. Measure and mark the points for the tenons with a pencil and tri-square on both the edges. With the tri-square, draw perpendicular lines on both the faces of the piece for the length of the tenon. Set the marking gauge and scribe a line right on the center of the edge for the thickness of the tenon. Step 4. When you are ready with markings, secure the leg piece on the workbench with a G-clamp. Take a mortise chisel and wooden mallet and chisel out a 25 mm deep mortise. Remember to keep the mortise edges inside the depth clean and sharp, as the tenon will not be a perfect fit if the edges are rough. Use the same process for carving out all the mortise grooves on the leg piece on the top and bottom. Step 5. When you are ready with your mortises, now cut out the tenon on the top and bottom rails. Hold the rail with one hand and cut out the tenon along the marked lines till the scribed lines with a handsaw. Secure the rail piece onto the workbench with a G-clamp and chisel out the remaining waste wood. Remember to keep the tenon edges clean and sharp, as it will not fit perfectly into the mortise if the edges are rough. In the same way, carve out the tenons on both the sides. Check if the tenon and mortise joints fit in perfectly into each other. Similarly, go ahead and cut out all the 4 legs with the mortise grooves and the 4 top and bottom rails with the tenons to erect your stool. When you are done with all the parts, keep them arranged like this to enable you to identify them easily while assembling. Step 6. Before assembling all the parts together, it is advisable to dry fit the components once to ensure that the tenon and mortise joints have a perfect fit. Step 7. Once you are satisfied with the fit, reassemble it by applying adhesive to the joining parts. Apply adhesive to all the tenons and into the mortise grooves with a brush. Ensure you apply them evenly all over the joining parts. First, fit in the 2 legs with the top and bottom rails and clamp it to the T-bar clamp to apply pressure to strengthen while the glue dries up. Ensure they are properly aligned with the tri-square. Drill some holes onto the joints and insert the dowel pins into them to strengthen and lock the joints further. Do it on all sides of all the joints. When done, cut out the extra dowel pin heads with a chisel. Similarly, join the other 2 legs in the same manner. And when you are ready, we will have 2 sets of legs attached, the front and the back legs. Now take any one set of legs and go ahead and apply adhesive into the mortise groove and the top and bottom rail tenons and fix them. This would be the sides of your stool. Then apply adhesive into the grooves of the other set and place it on top of them and tap lightly with a mallet to fix and align it properly. Fix it with a T-bar clamp to apply pressure on the joints till the glue dries. Check if they are properly aligned with the tri-square. Then drill the holes and insert the dowel pins into them. Do it on all the sides of the joints. Once you have fit all these parts together, you will find that the base of your stool is ready. Wipe away excess glue and smoothen the joints where the dowel pins were inserted with a smoothing plane. Now the base of your stool is ready. We need to give it a top for the seat. Step 8. Finally, mark the layout for the stool top. Take a 19 mm thick plywood, measure and mark the length and width and cut it according to the dimensions mentioned in the table above. Now, here is a tip from the carpenter to align the top perfectly, which would otherwise be a big hassle to match the base of the stool. Here's how. Leave a gap of about 1.5 inch from the edge. Scribe a line on the piece on the top and bottom sides. Drive in 2 wire nails halfway through on the marked lines, on each side at one of the corner point and 2 on the middle of each side. This will help you to align the top right at the middle of the base, leaving equal gaps on all the side edges. Keeping the nails downward, hold the piece so that the nails at the corner are hooked onto the corner of the base, and the other 2 nails on each side will give you the perfect placement for your top seat onto the base. Then hammer in some nails from the top all the way in onto the corners and sides. You have now fixed the top of the stool. Now cut a laminate sheet of similar size and paste it on the face of the top seat. Apply some glue on both the surfaces onto the top of the ply and back of the laminate and paste it. Clamp them with a G-clamp and apply some masking tape on the edges on all sides and leave it to dry. Step 9. Your basic stool is now ready. There's just one thing left to be done. Some finishing touches. Fix some beading or moldings on the edge of the top seat so that they cover the rough edges of the ply and the laminate and give a decent look as well. Take some beading strips and cut them to size. Ensure that you give the corner edge a 45-degree miter cut so that when joined, they are perfectly aligned at the corners. Nail in some wire nails halfway through and apply some glue on it and paste it on the edge of the top seat. Then hammer the nails all the way in. Fix them on all the 4 sides. While fixing the strips, ensure that the corner joints are perfectly aligned. Smoothen the surface with a smoothing plane or the shape you desire. We have given a half rounding edge, which is the basic style. When done, take a sandpaper and sand down all the rough edges to achieve a smooth and even surface. You can even apply polish or stain them as desired. You can sketch your own unique design and make a basic stool of your own, and at the same time, practice your cutting, chiseling and joint making techniques. Let's quickly look at the procedure once again. Step 1. Cut and smoothen the wood to size. Step 2. Mark the mortise lines. Step 3. Mark the tenon lines. Step 4. Carve out the mortise. Step 5. Cut out the tenons. Step 6. Dry fit the stool. Step 7. Assemble the components with glue. Step 8. Cut out the top and fix it on the base. Step 9. Give the finishing touch.